I'm Sarah Baxley, and welcome to Pinkie the Bear. This is my mystics, metaphysics, and mindfulness channel, and I'm here today with your astrology forecast for the week of October 14th, 2018. So the two upcoming themes for this week are 1, the turning of the tide, and 2, spreading the word. All right, so let's start with the first theme of this week, which is the turn of the tide. And, you know, we have, so basically on this upcoming Tuesday, right? Yeah, we have the first quarter moon, right? Of this particular moon life chapter, if you will, right? This particular synodic cycle of the moon. So essentially we are, you know, this is a little bit more of an intensified moon cycle, meaning that there is definitely more of a turning of events that tends to transpire around this time. And we had the new moon, the beginning of the chapter, begin the beginning of last week on Monday. And, you know, a lot of stuff kind of happened, you know, right around that time. We had Venus station retrograde right before, which is something that only happens about once every year and a half. So there's just kind of like this like undercurrent of energy, and Venus is in Scorpio right now, which is a water sign. It's stationed in Scorpio. So it's just kind of like really diving into the deep trenches of our emotions, right? And really kind of trying to come out on the other end, you know, kind of more refreshed and renewed and healed in some type of way. So, you know, there's multiple hits that happen to Venus throughout this moon cycle, and also at the upcoming full moon that's on October 24th, Venus also plays a really prominent role. So, you know, one of the things that we see, like you know, if you've seen my videos before, then you know that I often like to correlate the moon cycle kind of like a storyline, right? So like the new moon, which we had last week, would be kind of like the beginning of the story, and then the first quarter moon, which is what we have this upcoming Tuesday, which is turning of the tide, kind of like a shift of energy, if you will. That's kind of like the rising action to a story. And then the full moon, which in this particular chapter happens on October 24th, that would be kind of like the climax of the story, if you will. And then there would be kind of like the falling action to the story, which would be the last quarter moon, and then we would begin into another new chapter in the next new moon. So, you know, just this is kind of really, because this is a more intensified sort of cycle, if you will, that is very Venus-centric and kind of devoted to many things that are Venus related, right, which is finances, relationship, beauty, harmony, balance, you know, just like overall, you know, kind of like poise and grace, and the feminine, you know, just kind of things are a little bit more kind of introverted and kind of taking a turn and really kind of just trying to do some healing. You know, last week I said that Venus is like on vacation, right? So this first quarter moon is really important because it's like the very first, you'll see it's the very first turning of events that happen around in this moon cycle. And, you know, there's also a lot of, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of hits that Venus gets along the way, as well as the fact that she's very much involved at this full moon on October 24th. She's conjunct the sign minus a couple degrees opposite the moon that's conjunct Uranus. So there's just a lot. There's like a dynamo kind of energy that's happening around the 24th of October. And we're sort of gearing up for that. So the turn of the tide is kind of this first turning point that's going to happen here, which is this upcoming Tuesday at the first quarter moon. So anyway, that brings me into the second theme of the week, which is spreading the word. And the reason why I have spreading the word is, so this upcoming Monday, we have Mercury come to join Venus, where Venus is at. And so it's almost like Mercury governs communication, right, and thought process and everything else. So having Mercury, so we basically had Venus that was going about her merry little way, and then she sort of stopped, or appeared to stop in the sky for us, and then kind of like switched directions, right? And so she sort of started going backwards in the zodiac. And so here we have Mercury come to join Venus, and Mercury is going to meet Venus and see kind of where she's at. So it's kind of like our thought process and our communication and everything else is really diving deep into this like emotion kind of part of us, right? And it's really going to kind of, I think, give us a taste of really what kind of this full moon moon cycle is all about, and also a taste of potentially kind of like the themes that are going to surface around this big full moon that's coming up on October 24th. So so first we have, so again, spreading the word. So we have Mercury kind of almost spreading the word of Venus, essentially, right? Hey, this is where she's at. This is what's going on. This is kind of where things need to move and change and shift, right? It's almost like Venus now has, with Mercury passing through, it's like we almost have someone that's kind of advocating in Venus's corner, right? We have kind of this energy that now has gone to where she's gone, has joined into the trenches with her, or on her vacation with her, right? And has really seen kind of where she's coming from and the things that really need mending and the things that need tending to. So we have Mercury come to join Venus on Monday. Then on Tuesday, Mercury hits that exact degree where Venus had initially stationed, right? So kind of understood where she went and where she was at when she decided to kind of go backwards in her motion. And then we have another big transit that's happening again this upcoming Friday, which is when Mercury comes to make a 90-degree angle to Mars, or a square, right? So again, Mercury governs communication and thought process, and Mars is much about kind of aggression and assertion and taking action. So when we have those two kind of coming up against each other, and also with Mercury just having had the experience of uniting up and joining up with Venus, kind of seeing where Venus, was coming from. Venus just had a square with Mars. They just had a dual off this past week. So it's kind of like Mercury's kind of coming in and, is going to be kind of coming from a different place than Mars is coming from. So it's kind of like the way that we're asserting ourselves, and our thought process are kind of in two completely different, places, right? Like it's almost like we want to go in one, like we want to kind of move forward in one direction, but it's almost like Mercury's kind of traveling and giving us this message of Venus, and kind of, they're both in, the sign of Scorpio right now. They're both kind of in this, like these deep kind of watery, emotional trenches. So really kind of saying, hey, we need to not kind of like chug forward so quickly. We need to kind of stop and assess like where we're at emotionally with certain things before we can really kind of plunge and move forward. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as well for this week. So, we're definitely going to see kind of a turning point and a shift that's kind of happening this upcoming week. And then, like I said, and then we dive into the, kind of a more intense full moon on October 24th. So this is definitely like this is definitely a moon chapter where we're kind of really diving into the depths of our soul and really kind of uncovering maybe either hidden emotions that have been there, or maybe just certain parts of our emotions that kind of need a little bit more comfort and, just need a little bit more just like overall support and love, right? So anyway, that's everything for this week, but thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week. Thanks again. Cheers.